And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you should never ever trust when a game gives you a shitload of ammo. Yep, I'm fucked. What's up, intruders? It's Rufus. And a few years ago I reviewed Dusk, a badass modern tribute to old-school first-person shooters, and easily one of my favorite games of the last decade. Since it first dropped in 2018, fans have been hoping for a sequel, and just in time for Halloween 2021, they got one. Kind of. Today we're taking a look at Dusk's quirky little brother, Dusk 82. That's right, it's a first-person shooter sequel that's not in first person, not really a shooter, and as it turns out, not a sequel either. So what the fuck is it? Dusk 82 is actually a prequel, which takes place immediately before the original game, and it starts with our nameless hero minding his own business in the woods when he runs into a herd of evil mutant goats. Apparently his first indication that anything is amiss in the town of Dusk. Boy, is he in for a ride. And yep, they are serious about the 1982 thing. These are the graphics. There's our little Dusk dude, and there's the demon goats, who look a little less threatening than last time we saw them, but don't be fooled, they can still murder your ass. Fortunately, there's also weapons lying around, so just like the previous game, you set to work killing the shit out of all the bad guys and trying to get to the next level. But that's pretty much where the similarities end, because Dusk 82 is not an action-based shooter at all, but rather a puzzle game. First of all, it's turn-based, the enemies and their projectiles only move when you do, and there's no time limit, so you can carefully plan your movements to outsmart them. Also, you have no health bar, so a single hit from anything kills you instantly. And the gameplay isn't all about murdering evil critters, but also navigating complex obstacles and using the objects around you to solve each map. It actually reminds me a lot of Chip's Challenge, except if Chip was in a horror movie and had a fucking gun. You start in the woods with little trees you have to shoot out of the way, but quickly move on to a series of abandoned buildings featuring boxes you can push around that act like barriers, as well as explosive barrels you can move then shoot to blow holes in walls, kill bad guys, and cause oddly satisfying chain reactions. Just don't stand too close. There are also mines left behind by the military, which you don't want to step on, but you can use them to take out monsters. Naturally, there are multicolored keys you have to find to open locked doors of the corresponding color. Also gates which block your path, but you can shoot through them. These green walls which can be toggled on and off at the flip of a switch and used to crush bad guys, or destroy objects. Medkits that make you indestructible for one hit, so you can, for example, walk over a single mine unscathed, or melee kill a single bad guy. And a shitload of these conveyor belts that shoot objects around the map super fast, including projectiles, enemies, and even you. And when a bunch of these different elements are combined, it makes for some pretty challenging puzzles. But of course, it's still Dusk, you also get to shoot the fuck out of a bunch of evil monsters as you go. So you get cute little 8-bit versions of your favorite Dusk bad guys, and cute little 8-bit versions of your favorite Dusk guns. Now, due to this being a puzzle game, it's also easily possible to put yourself in a situation where you're just fucked and have no way to continue. But that's why you get unlimited restarts to try each level again from scratch. And once you've navigated your way to the end of a level and killed all the enemies, the exit will open and you can proceed to the next one. And I won't spoil the ending, but if you do this 30 times, you win the game. Like the original game, Dusk 82 was created single-handedly by indie game developer David Szymanski, with the support of publisher New Blood Interactive, who've spent a decade enabling small devs to publish their weird-ass games. Dusk 82 is actually based on an old indie game called Darkwoods, which I had never heard of before, but am now thoroughly addicted to. And it inspired Dave to create a similar game called Spy back when he was still in high school, the first title he ever completed and released. 15 years later, he had the idea to demake his hit game Dusk with similar old-school graphics and gameplay. Dusk 82 was originally announced on Twitter, but everyone assumed it was a prank since it was posted on April Fool's Day. Imagine our surprise when, 1 week later, a gameplay preview was released confirming that it was, in fact, a real game that was going to be released. Dusk 82 came out on October 22nd, 2021, and even though it's nothing like the original game, it received overwhelmingly positive reviews. But what makes it so damn good? Well, first of all, the gameplay is really fucking fun. Despite the whole thing seeming like a goofy gag, David did craft a legitimately well-designed puzzle game. You start every level with no items, so you can only use the weapons you find on that particular map, and you can only carry one gun or item at a time, which forces you to really think out your choices in advance. The weapons are all useful in different situations. The shotgun is a pretty straightforward boomstick and has unlimited ammo, but it doesn't work on leathernecks, as opposed to the Riveter, which can take out the meanest of bad guys and blow holes in walls, but ammo is scarce and you can't use it at close range. Then there's there's the crossbow, which also has unlimited ammo, and fires magic arrows that pass straight through solid objects and can kill multiple monsters at once. And finally, the rare bar of soap, the most powerful weapon in this or any game, which can obliterate any object and kill any monster just because it's fucking funny. The bad guys all have different behaviors that require different tactics. The goats just kind of wander around aimlessly, but the leathernecks will slowly walk towards you one step at a time until they catch you. Fortunately, they're also dumb as shit. They don't know how to walk around barriers, and you can pretty easily trick them into standing next to one of those explosive barrels or stepping on a mine. Then there are mages who move around randomly and shoot fireballs at you, but are pretty easy to take out if you can dodge their attacks, and are handy for blowing up barrels if you don't have a gun. It also has an interesting points system. You lose a point for every step you take, but gain 50 points for each diamond you collect. So you're simultaneously motivated to complete a level in as few moves as possible, but also to collect all the loot so you can brag about your high score. Fuck yeah, points! But all these gameplay mechanics wouldn't work by themselves unless the levels were also cleverly designed, which they fortunately are. Like this map, where it's super difficult to reach desperately needed ammo without getting killed by leathernecks. Unless you flipped this switch first, in which case the walls block the bad guys so you can get to the goodies, but that also blocks access to a bunch of extra diamonds. Or this one where they give you a shitload of riveter ammo right at the beginning because you have to tunnel your way through the whole level. Carefully. This map ends in a badass trap where you fire a bullet to set off a chain reaction which kills the last enemy so you can escape. This one features a giant crusher made of those green walls which you use to take out a swarm of leathernecks. And in this level, you never leave the tiny room you started in, killing all the bad guys by shooting through conveyor belts. And generally the game does a good job slowly introducing the player to each new game element, then bringing them all together to create challenging situations. Most of the earlier maps are pretty loosey-goosey and can be solved in multiple ways, but once you've mastered how all the objects work, the later ones can only be beaten by making very specific moves in the correct order, so there was clearly a lot of thought put into the level progression. And finally, the music in this game is fucking badass. The soundtrack for the original game was created by Andrew Holschultz, also known for scoring Doom Eternal and Quake Champions. But surely he wouldn't work on a project this small and goofy and oh, there he is. For Dusk 82, Andrew took a bunch of the big, loud, heavy metal tracks from the original game and recreated them as old-school chiptunes. And let me tell you, these will get stuck in your head for fucking days. Now, my biggest complaint about Dusk 82 is that it's a little too easy, assuming you have a relatively functional brain. The game spends so long introducing each gameplay element that the levels don't really get complicated and challenging to the last 10 or so maps of the game when everything finally comes together. And I would have loved to see a lot more of these harder levels. Which brings me to my next gripe. It's just too damn short. Each of the 30 maps only takes a few minutes to complete, so you can beat the whole damn thing in an hour or two. And I, for one, would absolutely have played like 100 more levels of this shit. Hell, Chip's challenge had 150. Fortunately, Dave also included a level editor so users can create their own maps with custom graphics. And the Dusk community rose to the challenge, releasing literally hundreds of fan-made mods. So you can scratch that itch with fun stuff like Doom 82 or Wolfenstein 3D, 2D. Szymanski even released a few himself, like this special Halloween level, or these mods that give the game stripped down ASCII graphics or fancy EGA graphics. Ooh, high tech. So while this is a small and relatively simple puzzle game, it's really fucking fun and well worth wasting a couple hours of your day. I'm giving this bad boy 8 teeny tiny Black Phillips out of 10, and I recommend it for all Dusk fans and puzzle gamers in general. Dusk 82 was released on Steam in 2021, so you can play it on Windows as well as Linux using Steam Play, though there's no version for Mac just yet. It's also available from the Nintendo Store for the Switch, but no love for PlayStation or Xbox and no mobile version. But if you have a PC or a Switch, don't hesitate to grab this game and blow up some rednecks. Links in the description. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention that New Blood recently announced they're working on a version of Dusk 82 for the Game Boy Color of all things. Of course, that video is released on April Fool's Day, so they can't be serious. Right?
Maybe.